They told me being a detective was a dead-end job, but dead ends are where the best secrets hide. Turns out, the biggest cases start small. A missing burger, a stolen skateboard, gone socks. Then one day, a wife looking for her husband. The neon sign above the diner flickered. Joe's all-nighter, casting a wobbly pink glow over the wet pavement. Inside, the air smelled of burnt coffee and greasy bacon. Across the booth, my little sister Mia stabbed a fork into her pancakes. "You're really gonna do this, huh?" she mumbled through a mouthful of syrup. "Private detective? That's like a job from old movies." I shrugged, stirring my coffee. "Someone's gotta do it." Our older brother Mark leaned in. His tie was already loose, even though his shift at the bank hadn't started yet. "Look, I get it. You want excitement, but you could get a real certification. IT, accounting, something with benefits." I smirked. "Benefits don't find missing cats." "Hi, I'm Dean. At first, I did small cases. It was just favors, for friends and friends of friends who needed help. I am good at what I do, and I love what I do. I remember my first case. I remember all my cases. Case number 1, the vanishing veggie burger. Location, Benny's Burger Joint, yellow vinyl booths, the sizzle of the grill, the sharp tang of pickles. The complaint, Mrs. Chen, a regular at Benny's Burger Joint, was furious. "Every Thursday, I order the veggie patty, and every Thursday, it tastes like beef." She insisted the staff was sabotaging her order, either as a prank or to prove no one actually likes veggie burgers. Staked out it out, I planted myself at Benny's counter, nursing a black coffee that tasted like burnt tires. The kitchen was a symphony of sizzling grease and shouted orders. My suspects are the line cook, Javier. Sweat-drenched bandana, bored expression, flipped patties with the precision of a metronome. The server Tina chewed gum like it owed her money, rolled her eyes at special orders. The manager Lou, bald, harried, constantly wiping his forehead with a rag. I watched Javier assemble Mrs. Chen's order. He plopped a veggie patty on the grill, then sniffed it, shrugged, and took a bite. "Still tastes like cardboard," he muttered, replacing it with a beef patty from the warmer. Sam confronted Javier. "Why'd you do it?" I asked. Javier didn't even look guilty. "Lady tips 10%. Every time. If she wants gourmet, she can pay for the real thing." The resolution was Javier got a lecture and was suspended for a week, no pay. Mrs. Chen got free burgers for a month, and better believe she was there for lunch and dinner, and I got paid in onion rings. Case 2, the stolen skateboard location. Lincoln Park, cracked sidewalks, the whirl of passing bikes, the smell of fresh-cut grass. The complaint, Tyler, a gap-toothed kid with skinned knees, was adamant. "Mikey stole it. He's always bragging about how much better his board is." The investigation, Mikey's alibi. His driveway security camera showed him at soccer practice during the theft. The skateboard's last seen location, Tyler's backyard, leaning against the shed. But Tyler's little sister, Lily, age 8, kept humming Finders Keepers while I interviewed them. Lily's bedroom, pink walls, glitter stickers. and the unmistakable sound of wheels rolling under the bed. Smelled like bubblegum, toothpaste, and guilt. I confronted little Lily. She came around the corner of the hallway, clutching the board to her chest. Tyler never lets me ride it. He says I'll break my face. Tyler agreed to supervise Lily's training. I got paid in a fistful of quarters and a slightly melted Snickers. These cases mattered. Because they are small wins taught me how to read people. Javier's resentment, Lily's telltale humming. Notice details. Bargain creatively. Onion rings are a valid currency. LOL. After 8 months, I scraped together enough for a tiny office above Rosita's florist. The stairs creaked, the window had a crack, and the place always smelled like lilies. But it was mine. I painted the door, dark green felt professional, and hung a sign. Sam Cross, Private Investigations. My first real client was a nervous college kid who thought his roommate was stealing his socks. The college kid, Jason, paced my tiny office, his sneakers squeaking on the worn wooden floor. Dude, I swear it's not just laundry mix-up. My good socks, the ones with the stripes, are vanishing. Like, one a week. And my roommate, Derek, keeps giving me this weird smirk. I took the case. Investigation. Derek's room. A mess of textbooks, energy drink cans, and a corkboard pinned with single socks, each labeled in Sharpie. Sock number 12, absorbed into the void. It smells stale pizza and fabric softener. A half-finished art statement on his desk. Socks are society's fleeting connections. Lost, mismatched, but never forgotten. Derek wasn't stealing them. He was archiving the transience of modern life. It was silly. It was weird. Jason just sighed. Man, I just wanted my socks back. I charged Derek $40 and a promise to stop, and he returned Jason's socks. I charged cheap rates, sometimes just a sandwich or a favor in return, but each case got me closer, and most importantly, they led me to her, to Edward, to the big leagues. My biggest case yet walked in a week later. The woman in the black coat was Evelyn Grayson. Her husband, Edward, had vanished 3 days ago. The cops thought she killed him. No body, but a life insurance policy and rumors of a rocky marriage. She slid another envelope across my desk. There's double this when you find him. The money smelled like ink and desperation. I took the case. The Grayson mansion is located in Crestwood Heights, where the houses were too big and the hedges too tall. Marble floors, cold as a morgue. A grandfather clock ticking like a countdown. A framed photo of her and Edward smiling, but his grip on her shoulder looked tight. Edward's last known whereabouts was the Harbor Club, a members-only lounge smelling of cigar smoke and bourbon. The Harbor Club, dim amber lighting, leather booths sticky with decades of spilled whiskey, the hum of low conversations and the clink of ice in glasses. The bartender, a grizzled man with a scar over his eyebrow, wiped down the counter with a rag that smelled of sour citrus. Yeah? Edward Grayson was here. Drank 2 scotches. Neat. Then some guy in a gray suit showed up. They argued something about numbers not adding up. Edward looked scared, left in a hurry. The gray suit man had a tattoo, a coiled snake on his wrist. Edward's jacket, left at the club, had a crumpled receipt in the pocket. Blackthorn Solutions, $25,000, consultation fee. That's when I realized it was time to call my siblings. Mia, little sister, is a tech whiz. You want me to hack into what? She groaned but booted up her laptop. The blue glow lit up her freckles. Fine. But if I go to jail, you're bailing me out with your detective money. The security tape is blurry, but the gray suit guy had a tattoo on his wrist, a coiled snake. I tracked the tattoo to a private security firm. The Blackthorn Solutions. She dug up Blackthorn's shell, company tied to Edward's business partner, Victor Kane. Mark, older brother, the banker. This is insane. But he pulled financial records. Edward was embezzling. Victor found out. If Edward disappears, the blame falls on Evelyn, and Victor gets the money. Mia hacked into the Harbor Club's cameras. What we saw was Edward and Gray Suit, who we found out is Victor Kane, stepping outside. Victor grabbing Edward's arm, Edward pulling away. A black van with a dented bumper pulling up. Edward forced inside. License plate. Partial match, registered to a shell company. Mark dug into Edward's finances and discovered the embezzlement trail. $200 K missing from Grayson Tech's offshore accounts. Victor Kane was Edward's silent partner until he found out Edward was skimming. Victor wanted Edward to fix the books or disappear, leaving Evelyn to take the fall. A tip from a homeless man near the harbor heard yelling last night sounded like someone begging, which led us to warehouse number 37. We decided to stake out the warehouse. At 3 a.m., Victor's men arrived. 2 goons in windbreakers. They were so busy arguing about a football bet. Mia jammed their walkie-talkies with a frequency scrambler. Mark called in an anonymous tip about gunshots to draw cops nearby. Rusted metal doors, the stench of fish and motor oil. The storage unit was pitch black, except for a thin sliver of light cutting under the door. There I found Edward, tied to a folding chair, alive, but bruised. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and sweat stale, panicked sweat. Edward Grayson didn't look like the polished tech mogul from the society pages. He was slumped in the corner, his tailored suit now wrinkled and streaked with dirt. His wrists were raw from zip ties, his usually perfect hair matted with grease. His eyes, bloodshot and darting, locked onto mine like I was a hallucination. For a second, he didn't speak. Then, in a hoarse whisper, he had the nerve to say, "Took you long enough." Classic Edward. Even half dehydrated and probably pissing himself, he had to land the line. On the car ride back, in the back of Mark's sedan, wrapped in a scratchy emergency blanket from the trunk, Edward kept flexing his hands like he was testing if they were still his. The street lights flickered over his face as we drove yellow, then dark, yellow, then dark. They were going to kill me, he said. Not to us, just to the window. Once the paperwork was done. Once it looked like I'd run. His voice didn't shake. That was the weird part. It was flat, like he was reading a stock report, but his fingers wouldn't stop moving. Tapping his knee, adjusting the blanket, touching his wedding band, it's still there. Because Victor wanted the cops to think Evelyn did this after he vanished. The moment it hit Edward was back at my office. Mia shoved a lukewarm coffee into his hands. He held it too tight and a little sloshed onto his pants. He didn't react. Then, out of nowhere, I thought about my dog, he said. I don't even have a dog. That's when his breath started coming too fast. Mark, ever the finance bro, awkwardly patted his shoulder. Edward didn't cry. He just shut down, stared at the wall like it was the most interesting thing he'd ever seen. Later, after the cops and the lawyers and the hushed arguments with Evelyn, Edward showed up at my office again. Clean suit, fresh shave, but his cufflinks were crooked. He handed me an envelope. Bonus, and thanks. I almost asked if he was okay. Then I remembered the closet, the way his voice cracked on, "I don't even have a dog." So I just nodded. He left without another word. The cops arrested Victor. The siblings and I split the fee. Back at the office, Mia spun in my chair. "Okay, I get it, bro. That was so awesome. Just awesome." Mark loosened his tie. "We could do this. Together. Bro, sis, whatcha think?" And just like that, we painted a new sign. The new one read, "Cross and Company Investigations." The siblings were still setting up and organizing equipment, each adding their personal touch to their new desks and area when the phone rang. Mia answered on speaker. "Cross and Company. Investigations," she said with a big smile. A man's voice, shaky. "My wife. She sleepwalks. Last night she left the house. Came back covered in dirt. And now there's a body in the woods." Mia's eyes widened. Mark exhaled. I picked up my notebook. "We'll take the case. Tell us everything." Rookie Detective Sam Cross starts small until a high-stakes case motivated him to team up with his siblings. After cracking the dangerous case together and loving every minute, skeptic siblings to a trio officially launching Cross and Company Investigations. Just in time for their next chilling mystery, a sleepwalking woman. Stay tuned, Mishmashers. Sleep well, and good night.